Okay, and it doesn't hurt that it'll be a shorter recording. So we are recording. Once again, your first two questions for your first map. You should have your ADE form open. The first two questions are dealing with the North American population as a whole, and we're looking for 3 cities that have a population of 2 to 5 million people. Make sure you can pick any 3 cities. It's up to you. Look through that list. The 3 cities are the cities that are marked with a blank box, and that's how you know which cities have between 2 and 5 million people in it. Then the second part of that question is, which region of the United States is the most densely populated? If you look up and to the right, I want you to use cardinal directions. I want you to use north, south, east, or west to describe that section of the United States. So look at and it's going to be a double. It's going to be bi-directional. In other words, it's either going to be northwest or northeast, southwest or southeast. So I want you to describe that section of the country that has the highest population density. In other words, the most people. I want you to use that bi-directional cardinal directions: northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. So which section of the country has the most people in it? Now let's go to the second map. We'll bring it up on the screen. This is our specifically our eastern section of the United States, east of the Mississippi River section of the United States that we looked at as well yesterday. Our questions for it are twofold, but you can answer them all in the same section because you're typing them in. You're not just picking something, you're typing them in. What are 3 cities in the eastern United States with a population of over 5 million people? This time, you're going to look for cities in the eastern section only, the section that's colored in. And let me make that a little bit bigger. Make it just a tiny bit bigger. And you're looking at cities that have, let me bring the key up real quick. Any city that has over 5 million people is a black square. So if you look for the cities that have a black square on them, those are the cities that have over 5 million people. And you can pick which 3 you want. There's at least, I'm counting real quickly, just looking at the screen, 1, 2, 3, at least 4. So I'm asking you to pick 3. So you pick 3 of those out and list them. And then the second part of the question is, which part of the eastern United States is the least densely populated? And I'm going to ask you to use the same bidirectional system. Either tell me it's the northeast or the southeast in comparison to each other. Which of those sections, northeast or southeast, have a smaller population or a lower population density? Northeast, southeast. Okay. And we'll do central. So I'm going to give you 3 options. Okay. The central section, the northeastern section, or the southeastern section. Okay. So we'll give it 3. We'll give you 3 options to pick from: the central section, the northeastern section, or the southeastern section. Which one of these? Central, northeast, or southeast? Which one do you think has the highest population density? Just by looking at it, which one do you think? Okay, and once again, you're looking for the areas that have the most red, pinks, or purples. Okay. You should be finishing that up. Okay, now let's start looking. Listen, let's start looking together at the different periods of Arkansas. We're going to specifically kind of move into Arkansas and look at the different Native American periods, what we call, it's called Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, and Mississippian. Okay, those are the 4 primary periods. There's also some more defined here. We'll get into the Dalton in different groups. But these are they exist within one of these four periods. Okay, and we'll talk about them as we go. So we got Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, and Mississippian. Hit next. Oh, I have to fill this out to hit next. My bad. Of course, this is first period. So now I can hit next, just like you. Oh. Y'all have to actually type the names in. I'm not putting names in because that's just give you the answers. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we're on the next section. So the Paleo period of Native Americans. Paleo just simply means older or ancient. It's especially related to the geological past. Geological is the earth. Related to the study of the Earth's physical structure and substance. So we don't have tons and tons of evidence for their time period. This is a time period of about 10 to 12,000 years ago. Remember, when we look at something that's considered BC, our the other term is BCE. This means before Christ. The other one is before the Common Era. We're talking about we have basically we don't really have a year zero, but it's almost like we have a 0 year, and after the 0 we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all the way. And what year are we in right now from the 0? According to our calendar, what year are we in from our 0 year? What year is it? 2021. 2021. So since our year 0, we've had 2,021 years. Right? So we have to go back 2,000 years, and this is saying if we go back to the 2,000 years to the year 0, then this is talking about 8,000 years before the year 0, up to 9,500 years before the year 0. So if we look at this date, this is talking about 10,000 years ago up to almost 12,000 years ago. So that's what we're looking at. Between 10 and 12,000 years ago, what was our result? If we could get into a time machine and come back to this place right here, 12,000 years ago, what would it look like? That's what period we're talking about, the Paleo period. And we don't know much about it. That's why we have to study it geologically, the surface of the earth, or maybe the tools that were left behind, or the skeleton of the bones of the people that were left behind, that were potentially alive at that point. We have to look at those things because the Paleo period people, did they write things down? They have a written language. Don, what do you think? Do you think people 10,000 to 12,000 years ago had any kind of written language? Most likely not. They might have drew things. They might have did something like that. But as far as we can tell from the archaeological record, geologic record, there's no surviving written language that we know of. So most likely they probably didn't write things down. Okay, communicate that way. About those stories. Probably drew things, you know. So archaeologists believe that the first people came to North America by crossing a land bridge from Asia. While it is unknown what these other people call themselves, we're on 81. We call them Paleo people. Paleo just means ancient or old. Okay. Now, Paleo people most likely had a fully developed language, probably believed in an afterlife. They used animal skins to make clothing, they split canes to make baskets, and they used flint to make spear points and tools. One unique Paleo spear point they used is called a Clovis point. Remember yesterday and the day before we talked about the Clovis people? The Clovis people used this kind of spear point. That's what it looked like. But there's also some weaponry that predates Clovis people. That's why they came up with that new theory. They think that some of these people definitely came over across that bridge from Asia But now there's that new theory that we talked about, the Seleucian people, that possibly could have came over from Europe. So you would have had these people groups meeting each other at some point 10, 12,000 years ago. Okay? So, it was named proposed in Mexico where the first point of this kind were discovered. So you had this kind of, if you can find tons of these in Arkansas when you're out and about. So if you find an arrowhead Cupid, don't throw it back on the ground. It was made by somebody 6 to 12,000 years ago. So it's really cool. You got a piece of, evidence that proves people were here.
How do you know it's not big?
What do you think? If there's a rock that's obviously been shaped out and put a pin on it.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the interruption, but I just sent you an email that has our makeup testing list for this morning. We are working to the class for your students. Check the list out. There are some students who are in your Google Meet that we need to transfer out and get a chance to look. And you know, if you have any questions, thank you so much for letting me know.
Okay, while I look at that, go ahead and answer that first question on your ABE form. List 2 sources of food for the Paleo period of Native Americans. What do you think? What do you think they probably ate? One of the hints is going to come from that picture. Look at that picture, and you can see several different types of food that they would have probably eaten. Okay, so what type of food do you think, by looking at that picture, by reading that section, what do you think they probably ate? Paleo people. If you don't know, there's even a diet today called the Paleo diet, where you try to eat like people did 10,000 years ago. It's supposed to be a very healthy diet. So, actually, this is very kind. You gotta act nicely and quietly. Please turn off whatever you're on and get your ABE phone open. Okay? All right, let me look at this list from Miss Higgs. Does anybody know that they should be on this list? Like you need to be taking your test? Yeah, I don't see a list. Okay, I don't see a list, period. Way at the bottom. Okay. Oh, good Lord. I mean, you should know if you didn't take all 4 of the tests. Do we have anybody in here who did not take all 4? You know that you did not take all 4 tests, and so you know that you probably on the quiz. No, you already got to go.
Every
Okay. Diamond, do you have a sister?
yeah.
And Leah? There's a Leah Boykins on here. I don't know what grade. It doesn't show what grade. I don't see any of y'all's names on here. I'm going through it really quick. Okay. So if you know that you're on there, let me know so I can send you. I'll check your name and send you if you're on there. All right. If you don't go now, they're going to come find you and make you take these steps. So just go ahead and do it now and get it over with. Okay. What types of food did y'all come up with that the early Paleo Indians probably ate? What do you think? By looking at that picture and looking at the description, Paleo Indians were nomads. They wandered hundreds of miles in search of food, didn't stay in one place for long. They hunted large animals such as mammoths, mastodons, saber-tooth tigers, large bears, giant bison. The climate was colder, so scientists think there were almost no plants for the Paleo people to eat. But they probably ate whatever wild berries or nuts were available because there's things that do grow in the cold, especially from trees. Huh? Definitely fish. And you see on the picture, they're out there gathering up fish. So without a doubt, they would have eaten fish. They would have eaten things out of the streams and the rivers, mussels, crawfish, anything like that. Definitely, catfish and bass and whatever other kind of fish they could have caught that was in the stream. And if they lived on the coast, they would have went fishing out in the ocean as well. So they definitely would have been eating fish. They definitely ate the large meat, the buffalo, deer that were available, mammoths, if there were woolly mammoths. I mean, think about it. If you can kill a woolly mammoth, you're talking about you're able to eat on that for probably months with your tribe, So definitely fish, meat, some probably nuts and berries. Those are definitely three things that they definitely would have eaten on. There's no clues to suggest that the Paleo people had a written language. They passed their histories and traditions to future generations through stories, probably gathered around campfires at night and shared their beliefs and their histories and where they believe they came from and all those kind of things. Somewhere around 9500 BC, or basically about 12,000 years ago, a small group of Paleo people migrated into the land that is now known as Arkansas. Glaciers covered many northern regions of North America, but the area that is now Arkansas was mostly tall grass and wide prairies with a few large forests in the north along the southern river bottom. My biggest question always when I read this stuff is, how do we know? We ultimately don't know. These are guesstimates. They're educated guesstimates, but they're still guesses. No one was alive in 12,000 years ago that's alive today that can tell us, yeah, this is what Arkansas looked like. I remember. I can tell So at the end of the day, these are just our best educated guesses on what the area would have looked like, could have looked like. We definitely know that ice ages existed, and that the ice came down all the way close to Arkansas. We've got some archaeological evidence to suggest that the glaciers, the big sheets of ice, came down as far as close to Arkansas. So that's pretty, think about it. Missouri and Iowa and all those areas above us, they had ice over them, covering them at one point. Let's keep going. We got the Dalton culture. This is a group of people during the Paleo period. Toward the end of the Paleo period, a new culture of Indians emerged. Archaeologists called them the Dalton culture. If you look at the spear point, look at that picture there. That's a Dalton point. And then now let's go back real quick and look at our spear points of the very earliest people. Is there a difference between these Clovis spear points, and the Dalton spear point? That's how you know you're dealing with different people groups. The Dalton arrowhead looks a lot different than the Clovis arrowhead. So these are definitely two different types of people. They made a more distinctive spear called a Dalton point. They also made other advanced tools like the axe. The axe was a chisel-like stone tool that was used to shape wood into bowls. Some believe it also may be used to create wooden shelters, maybe even wooden boats like canoes. We don't have don't have the evidence for it, but we can conjecture, we can speculate. As the Dalton culture was growing in Arkansas, the climate began to get warmer, which changed the landscape. Groves of oak and hickory trees began to appear where there once was only prairies. Weapons and hunting techniques improved and may have led to the decline of the large ancient animals. So as their weapons improved and their populations grew, then they're going to begin to wipe out the big animals like the woolly mammoths and things of that nature. There's also some kind of catastrophic event that caused that as well. Huh? Yeah, they kind of do look like teeth, without a doubt. Maybe they were even inspired. Maybe they, from the ocean had hunted some sharks at one point and were inspired by that design. Who knows? So, of course, without a doubt. Think of how much meat that would provide. And there's all kinds of stuff that the well is useful for in terms of, like, you can use the blubber for fuel, oil. And there's lots and lots of things. Plus just the fact that, a well could feed a whole village for probably a month or more. That's, yeah, anything, they hunted everything. If they could kill it and quarter it, they're going to eat it without a doubt. They would probably kill animals that we just basically don't hunt anymore, from like the raccoons and possums and smaller woodland creatures like that. We don't really hunt those kind of animals anymore, but they probably did. They if they needed to eat, they're going to kill it and eat it. Which we still, there's lots of people that still go squirrel and rabbit hunting. So, but we don't tend to go hunting for any animal. Now, look at this list. Look at this list of on here, and give me at least 2 innovations or adaptations of the Paleo period. You can use the Dalton culture people, how their arrows look, the Clovis arrows. Those are both innovations. So there's 2 right there. And just some of the things that they maybe came up with. The axe, the ADZ, that stone tool to make bowls, or possibly even, wood planks for homes, or maybe even canoes. So there's different things that they had that they kind of came up with to help themselves out. And then the last question is, what type of shelter, culture, or important vocabulary can you describe about the Paleo period of Native American? If you don't know, like you're going to have to speculate what kind of shelters they used. Most likely you could even describe them as, temporary shelters. Maybe they made, lean-tos against trees or whatever. We don't really know. So on that, you can speculate. Just give it your best guess. We have more information about more recent Native Americans, what kind of shelters they have. But look at their look at their culture. Tell me something about their culture. You got plenty of information right up there. Tell me about their culture. And give me some kind of vocabulary. I would probably describe maybe their weaponry, or maybe their stone tools that I just said. That would be a good vocabulary word to pick out of there. So give me one of each on that last one. Give me a shelter, or how you think they sheltered themselves. Give me a something significant about their culture, and then give me a particular vocabulary word and what it means, something maybe even new to you that you hadn't heard of before, and list that. It's basically almost time for intervention. So we're going to switch over to that. This pattern continues itself for the other 3 periods. Remember, we're doing Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, and Mississippian. So these same questions, you're going to answer again for each period. You're going to give 2 sources of food for the Archaic, for the Woodland, for the Mississippian cultures. And then you're going to come up with 2 innovation adaptations of each of the periods. And then you're going to list a shelter, a culture, and a vocabulary from each of them. So you're going to repeat that pattern. That's why I wanted to go through at least that first one, Paleo, with you, so that you can now repeat that. You have the rest of the day to continue to work on it. You have tomorrow to continue to work on it. before you can submit it, you'll have to at least put in something like whenever I needed to go to the next section, to section 2, which is where the payroll section is. You saw all I had to do was put in 1, 2, 3. You know, because I had 3 answers, so that's why I put in 1, 2, 3. And I was able to submit and go to the next section. So you can do that as well.
I'm guessing they're not being brought to.
As far as I know, I don't think so, but maybe hopefully they'll at least tell us if they're going to. Let's hope so. Okay, is there any questions about the other 3 periods? You're going to follow along this. That's what I was saying. I don't know if we get through with it today. We obviously didn't, but you have today and tomorrow to continue to work on it. But just at least make sure that if you're going to save the answers that you've typed in so far, go through there and at least type something into each of the blanks so that you can hit submit at the end, and then you can come back and still work on it. But that'll make it really easy for me to grade if you leave a bunch of things that just, that are not answered. Okay, so make sure you come back and answer the question. Are y'all doing something different with intervention now? I mean, I honestly don't know what they're doing.
I saw people.
Huh? Matter of fact, I need to go look in my box. I'm going to let y'all continue to work on that. Like, for example, let me go back to it. You need 2 sources, 2 answers for that. You need 2 innovation. And then you need a shelter, a culture, and a vocabulary term. So once you put something in those boxes, you can go to the next section like I just did. And so now you're going to be on the, huh? Yes, that's what I've been saying for the last several minutes. Is if you don't have time to finish it today, then at least go through there and put something in the blanks, even if it's just 1, 2, 3, like I've just been doing. Hit submit, and then you can always come back and edit your answers and put correct answers in there. You just can't turn in a blank. It won't let you turn in a blank. You have to put something in the blank. So make sure you do that. Trying to see if I can go backwards in it. Yeah, it did. It let me go back to the beginning. Okay, cool. I know y'all told me y'all don't really like the section thing, but it helped to divide it out into the Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, Mississippian sections. That kind of was helpful.
No, bro, I don't think that.
So much out on time. You like please, you like lean. Like peace, peace don't sound good. Y'all eat bread or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I eat bread for everything. The sixth grade, eight, it's one of us is like, you not like it. I was like, I hate when people tell me that, Joe, both of my parents. Where'd you get me from? But not, I'm talking about property. You lice me. But stop me. What does the black, what she likes? So. And I'm like, I'm on the other color. Skin is beautiful. Actually, yeah. Just stay out board. Yeah, we look at see, so I'm gonna see and you know, man, I look at 12. I say I was not really good at this. I didn't have any coffee and sleep. I was mad. I said, my sister. Oh.
Well, wait, so, well, I get there. Where's my other pass? Why do I have two passes missing?
One right there. One right.
There's one on the floor?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Kelton and Yesenia, I'm gonna go ahead and since we're in intervention time, you can work on whatever you want and you can go ahead and log out of the meet as well. Hopefully you're hearing me and I'm not talking to air. Give me a thumbs up or log out, whatever, that way I know you're listening.
Oh. We know everything. Okay, yes, I'm saying. Yeah. All right, you guys see now? I'm younger than everybody else. So. How are you? Oh, it's now. Well, COVID started. And it started, you got out of school. You got out of school. Yeah, it was March 13th. Friday the 13th, and also Friday the 13th. When COVID was started, we got out of school. Wow, so I thought it was good. I did too. Yeah, it's the same. It's but the government is clamoring for full sale. I do remember. Wasting my time. No, well, a Jenny or March 10th, you won't have to wear. Yeah. See, I didn't really say my phone. It was just what it was. March 31st was something when I master's school. Right?
Well, I'm sorry, I was reading something. Did you ask the question?
Master's school.
As far as I understand, yes.
Okay.
But they may take the mask mandate down in public, like for everything, but the schools may still do it. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get it there.
And let's talk about stores like the owners. If they want you to come into the stores with masks, you have to invite them all. Yeah. Cause you you're on the team.
Okay, movie.
I'm the only kind of person out here. Look, I remember.
Yeah, we got hand cards out there again.
Oh, you know, I want to crack an egg. They say you can't crack an egg.
Right.
Okay, already. Oh, like
The end.
we talking about.
The way it's designed, it like gets, if you push it from each point on the ends, yeah, you can't crack it. You can't do it.
Hey, you want now? Let me see. I want to break them all. Bill, it break. Okay, here. Oh, I like to name on this paper. No, your name on here because people are mean to me. I don't have evidence. You lying or? She put my name on. I'm lying with her. You spell your name like R-O. Yeah. Somebody's so many J-words. Why did they put anybody on the